and I'm guilty of this too. Like I'll go to a session in a conference and for half of it, I'm completely glassy eyed. Like I'm sitting there, I'm not looking at my phone, but I'm
Yeah.
looking at like who's in the room or like look at that chandelier or whatever. And when you're not there to be there and to
Mm.
consume what's being presented to you, you're going to leave there feeling not just unfulfilled, but you wasted your time and probably would be best served consuming it a second time, right?
Yeah. And
Building a successful real estate career requires you to adapt, pivot, and constantly master new skills.
We're Katie and Daniel Steinfeld. We've built our own innovative brokerage, and in this podcast, we've assembled actionable tips and strategies that you can implement to take your business to its maximum potential.
It's time to level up. Level up. Level up.
Level up.
Hello, everybody. Are you ready for another episode of Level Up? I know I am. You haven't even answered yet, so I guess I'm the only one who's
I
ready.
said I am. You just
Oh.
talked over me.
That's what I do. It's my thing. I was mansplaining the intro.
No, I just didn't know if you were taking the whole intro or if you wanted me to chime in, but
I don't think we've got a set format here. I think if you want to chime, you chime.
no, I wasn't sure. Chime in, baby. All right.
All
Nice.
good. Well, now that we got that uncomfortable opening out of the way, that didn't go anywhere. It's weird. Every time you go away from was that just a silent laugh? Because you looked like you were laughing hysterically, but there's no sound. You're doing it again. There's no sound. Is there sound coming out of you?
No, it's like internal. It's like a internal like shaky laugh.
It's strange. You like to somebody, if somebody was watching that, they would have been like, she's laughing. So again, you're like laughing, but there's no sound. But you're right
I
at the
guess
microphone.
I've mastered the laughing so it doesn't like blow into the microphone so loudly.
I guess that's good.
Yeah.
Just threw me
It's
off.
it's a trait I have.
I keep thinking you're hitting the mute button, but you just are mute.
I am not. All right, let's get into this.
Okay.
So today, okay, go ahead.
Okay. No. Please.
Big delay,
please.
I think here.
It's all good. Okay, you're pointing at me, so I will. Is there a delay on our video, really?
I don't, but go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, so there's a lot of content out there. We talk a lot about a lot of stuff. We are some of that content. You're listening to us right now. And so this is, let me preamble this by saying this is not an episode to dissuade you from listening to us anymore. We're useful stuff. However, it has become apparent that it's pretty common for people to consume, do classes, go to conferences, listen to podcasts, read books, yada, yada, yada. And they forget that in doing all of those things that are in theory bettering them and making them more effective as whatever, they're forgetting to do the things that actually move their business forward or to take the advice and apply it to something. So today we're going to talk a bit about how to do all that stuff right, how to learn right, how to consume right, how to conference right, how to event right, all the things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think all of us fall into this. There's so many options and opportunities. And we've always talked about this, how there's so many different ways and ideas that you can move your business forward. But if you're not in action with any of these ideas and don't have a focused plan, then that could really backfire on you. And so I think one of the biggest things that we've fallen in, or at least I'll talk for myself, but the conferences is a big one. I think I can get really wrapped up in wanting to go to conferences, wanting to socialize with all your colleagues and have some fun and learn some stuff. But I think over this last year, I've tried to take a step back and evaluate where is my time best spent. And some of it is at conferences, but sometimes you gotta just take a little bit of time and evaluate which ones are really going to help you with your business, because there's so much out there right now.
Well, and we were I guess the opposite of spoiled, but as a benefit to us, we were spoiled by the fact the last 2.5 years took a lot of conferences away.
Mm,
And so
that's true.
now with an onslaught of in-person stuff, and I mean, I'm seeing a lot of it. I'm going to a lot of it. We're doing a lot more of it, like you said. And with that, where there's lots of useful stuff at pretty much all of these, there's a couple things. Number one, there's a lot of overlap, both
Yes.
in the subject matter and in a lot of cases, even the people and companies and things that are specifically being referenced.
Mhm.
But then it's also evaluating the amount of time that you're putting into
Taking
it
out of your business and taking out of your business.
and taking out of it. Well, because that's it. Because there's value and you can easily make, and it's a right argument to say, yeah, I'm going because it's giving me tools and teaching me things that are going to go into my business. But if you leave one to go into another,
Mhm.
I guess it's two problems. It's that you keep doing things that keep you from getting into your business, but then it's like the valley of despair, right? Like you keep refreshing your idea set before you've had the opportunity to implement what you just learned. So
Mm.
like when do you press pause and say, I'm going to take that and I'm going to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, maybe people are different. Like, I don't know about you, but I find that being inundated with all of these different ideas confuses me more than provides me with any solid direction as to how I really want to take my business.
Yeah. I think the more we see and hear, it creates like a brain fog of just stuff. And
Yeah.
these things are designed, whatever they are, like they're not all here's the next big tool to fix your business. Sometimes it's, giving your personality a check. It's like we said, we're talking right now. People are consuming this and learning to maybe take a double take about what they're consuming, including
Mhm.
what we're saying to them, right? So this is the one you're supposed to listen to. Um,
Yeah.
but I think we should kind of help, and what I want this to be about is kind of giving people that approach to take. Not and it's not just go to less things necessarily or listen to less things and consume less, although that's part of it. But
Mhm.
how do you determine what you want to consume and what you want to go to? Because cold turkey is not the answer either. Learning and like you said, it's not just about learning. If it's a conference, which is one of these things, sometimes it's interacting, it's staying on top of, your own relationships. It's a good way to kill several birds with one stone that way as well.
Yeah.
But you need to be smart about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think number one, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, is just understanding where you are looking to take your business. What are the pillars that you're focusing on for this coming year to really grow things? And does this podcast or book or conference or whatever it is that you're doing, does it really connect to that purpose or that activity that you're currently in action with? Because if you're in action with different things that you start like if the things you're consuming are different than the things that you're in action with, then you're going to end up putting a pause on everything because you're going to get, as you said, like interested in like, oh, this new shiny thing that like I really get excited about starting up. But then 3 months in, I'm going to be in the same position that I am now, where I'm feeling like, okay, I need to figure out how to move things forward. Cause you get to a point where you're just feeling like a pause and it's just like a bad cycle. So I think really you've got to understand where it is that you're taking your business and whether or not the things that you're consuming support that.
Well, yeah, I think that's got to be the first thing. It's like all of our planning activities are take a step back, evaluate what it is you're looking for and what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
And even on top of that, like with our own planning and more of like the big picture planning, evaluate how much time you want to allocate, not just to the consumption of things, but to the different types of goals that you have, right? Because some of these things also aren't just for learning and bettering your business. Some of them are for social interaction, some of them are entertainment, some of them are, like if there's a podcast you really like I have one podcast I listen to, as
Mhm.
you know, and it's not a teaching podcast. It's entertainment. It's what I listen to when I walk the dog. It's just something that helps clear my mind, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a small thing comes from it here and there, but I allocate time in my day, or I want to say, I need this much time each day to have that downtime or to have that entertainment or that social interaction. And so it's possible these different things you do can fit into there, but you need to be very clear and disciplined with yourself about what your buckets are for, be it different objectives of your business, right? Because you, as we talk about in our business planning, you might have 2 or 3 pillars you're focused on right now. How much time do you want to attribute to learning about them? And then when are you putting it into action?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's like a deal you have to make for yourself for everything that you consume. Like you've got to dedicate just as much time to acting on it
At least,
or
I mean,
more.
yeah,
Obviously, yeah. I mean, it's
yeah.
gonna take more time to act on it, but like you have to like start the process of acting. It's not just, oh, that's a good idea. Let me put that in my memory bank for, 5 years from now. Like that's not useful for you in the moment.
And a commitment to finish also, right? Like
Mhm.
if you put something into action that you learned and then halfway through you take in something, like you don't have to stop learning, but if you are easily distracted or the shiny things get you going, if you're not done with the action, that's again where you get into that valley, and
Yeah.
something like all action will, I was going to say will lead to inaction. That's not entirely true, but all action will have that point where it's not as easy as it seemed to be. And if
Mm.
you treat that with more learning and more ideas in another direction, it's even more useless because then you wasted all this other time of action that went nowhere,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, yeah, so okay, so there's those things. Another thing that I would say is, especially, and this is more specific, I think, to probably conferences, but maybe to different types of content. When you go to a conference or you go to one of these seminar sessions or whatever, it's a day, it's 2 days. Typically, there's going to be a schedule. Typically, there's going to be, in a lot of cases, simultaneous things that are happening. There's a balance between the learning and the people selling you stuff and the social stuff and all that. Create a plan for yourself before you go there. Determine what the things are that you intend to get out of it. I was going to say learn, but really just like, what's your goal for going? You talked about like, do the things that are going to serve your objectives, but like, which objectives are you serving and what there is going to serve it? Because in most conferences, there's going to be 10, 15, 30 sessions, and many of them are going to be great, but not serving the objective you went there for.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I find that conferences, like you tend to have, and not even just conferences, it's like everything, even podcasts. Like I listen to so many podcasts, and after a while, they all start having the same advice. So kind of, as you said, being strategic about it, I think is important, because even just listening to something that's a repetition of what you've already heard or just not in line with what you're looking to do, really doesn't serve you at the end of the day, and just, yeah, is an ultimate distraction. So I think definitely making sure you're strategic about the learnings that you're doing. And going back to your point about the time spent, like I think it's important also to set aside an hour a week or something along those lines to just for like courses or like actual learning, not just podcasts, but like something that you can take. Like I know with our real estate board, they've got tons of different things that you can sign up for each month. And again, it's hard to kind of whittle through which ones are going to make the most sense for you, but it's really beneficial to do that. And just, but again, making sure that it's directed back to what you're trying to do with your business. Because if you're going to take a commercial course and you have no interest in that, then what's the point,
It kills me. I mean, I get it because it's not an unusual thing, but the people who are just all about designations and titles and extra things to put on their LinkedIn profile, but that's why they're doing it. I mean, if that fills your cup, telling people that now you're a certified, asbestos removal expert, but like you focus on a completely different area of the business, like that's great. Maybe it starts conversations, but again, why are you doing these things? And also, um, be deliberate when you're consuming things. Because I think the reason people keep seeing and doing and producing the same message over and over again is because people keep coming back to the same message and the same thing because they really didn't consume it the right way the first time.
Yeah.
That or they're completely lazy. But like, and I'm guilty of this too. Like I'll go to a session in a conference and for half of it, I'm completely glassy eyed. Like I'm sitting there, I'm not looking at my phone, but I'm
Yeah.
looking at like who's in the room or like look at that chandelier or whatever. And when you're not there to be there and to consume what's being presented to you, you're going to leave there feeling not just unfulfilled, but you wasted your time and probably would be best served consuming it a second time. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do that a lot is I'll be sitting there in a conference room on my phone, just like answering emails or whatever. And it's just like, why am I even here? Like, this is just a
Half
different
the room
environment
is.
for me to do work. Yeah, exactly. Going out, taking phone calls, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, we meant for this to just be a short episode, but I think it's just a reminder because like I was thinking about it this past week and I keep getting enticed by all of these different things that come up from time to time, like not all, like it's like every day there's something, like, ooh, this looks good. Ooh, I want to take this. But really, if you can spend that much time in action on your business, you're going to find you'll get really, really much better results. And even just from the social media standpoint, like it's good to create the content and do it, but sometimes we can just get wrapped up in the creation of stuff that really doesn't serve us and really make sense to the action that's going to get us the results. So
There's too much of a lot of things. When we get comfortable and things feel easy or things feel like this is the wheelhouse, it's good to be in your wheelhouse, but there's too much to everything, to producing, to consuming. You've got to find the balance. You've got to define it for yourself and you've got to stick to it. And that's way harder to do because it doesn't matter whether it's making content or, playing video games, whatever it is, right? Like you get caught up doing things and you lose focus on all the things you're not doing. Like think about opportunity cost, I think, when it comes to all of these arguments. Think about what's not getting done because of what you've chosen to do. And if the benefit of what you're doing does not outweigh the benefit of what you're leaving behind, then you're making a bad decision or you need to reevaluate how you're doing what you're doing because there's a better way to do it. I said do about 500 times in that sentence.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about just putting your head down and doing the work. And it's not glamorous at all. Nice hair. But
Am I going, do I have a bald spot? No.
I think it's just your part.
I hope that's just, holy geez, this could be like breaking news.
I think you just got like a lot of gel in your hair.
I don't though.
No,
I don't put a lot of, I mean, it's like
you're making me dizzy.
Sorry, I'm making myself dizzy.
We'll evaluate after this.
Oh, wow. Okay, if you're watching the video, put in the comments whether I'm going bald or not. And then suggest me product.
Anyway, my last point is just
Sorry.
We've valued the glamorization of this industry so much. And so it's very tempting to just do the stuff that puts you out there, that puts you in front of people. And that is conferences, that's putting out content that really doesn't serve anybody, but just it's out there and your face is there and all that. But at the end of the day, it's the stuff that it goes on behind the scenes that's going to move your business forward. And all of it has to be done in balance and with, a good intention, and of course produce content, but make sure it's connecting back to what you're ultimately trying to do. And that head down work is it's what's going to take you to be that speaker in the conference or that guest on the podcast talking about how you've moved your business forward. That's ultimately the name of the game. So, I mean, just try to spend a lot of time in your day to just that head down work. It's really important.
That's a very, very underappreciated point that you just made, is the glamorization of the industry and what that's done. And really, I guess it's every industry. I guess it's just the public nature of what the world is right now, and everybody needs to be seen. But in as competitive an industry as ours, people are getting the wrong idea about what you need to do to be successful.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think that's a great place to close, even though, as you can imagine, I had a million more things to say. That's a really strong point for everyone to take away. Like, don't be focused on the glamour. Don't let that drive you, or the image of what it is to be successful. Those people who you see are either not as successful as you think they are, or they're doing the stuff behind the scenes to be successful. And that is the product of their work. That's not their means to an end. That is the end. Right? So you can't there are no shortcuts to being successful. Right? And so whatever your goal is, be focused on how to do it and how to get there and what to learn, and do it in an efficient way. And you'll be happy you did.
Yeah. Slay.
Peace out, people. You say slay.
Yeah.
Every day.
Slay every day.
All right.
That
Go out there and
slays
slay
behind the
people.
scenes.
Enjoy your conferences, everybody. The sun is shining, the weather is sweet, and there's no more viruses to keep us at home. So,
Knock on wood.
yeah. And if you're doing online courses, we're all guilty of this. Look, like, if you're taking the course online, try to or if you're virtual, eliminate distractions and just focus on what you actually signed up to do, right? Whether it was mandatory or optional. Try to do what you're actually sitting there to do. Because if you're sitting and you're doing other things while the Zoom is on, what are you really doing other than proving you were there, quote unquote?
Word.
Word.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Happy late Mother's Day, everybody.
Bye.
Level up, level up, level up.